All right, everybody, welcome to part 2 of I Just Found My Grandpa Landing in Normandy. So I want to touch upon some things first before we go into the whole part 2 thing. Let me just move my notes over here. So first of all, thank you r/combat footage. You guys have been awesome. I did not expect that kind of response at all from what I was posting. So a lot of you drew a lot of interest in both my project, but I also noticed a ton of people had a ton of interest too in what, their relatives, ancestors went through during the war. So I decided to make a subreddit just for that, trying to figure that stuff out. But it's also going to be the subreddit where I post updates and stuff about the film. So that's r/LeosStory. I'm going to put a link to that in the comments of this post, and you guys can go over there and check it out. All right, so here's my post on r/LeosStory. I'm going to pin this. Basically, I have a ton of images that probably won't make the final cut for the movie, but they're also super interesting. That and a bunch of artifacts too. Like right here, this is a film reel that was taken off of some German soldier by my grandpa. So I've already scanned these too. I'm going to put a link to that in the comments as well. I believe I've posted them before to r/combat footage a while ago. Anyways, back to the image libraries. Basically, I'm going to post once a week, 5 to 10 images with, a couple paragraphs contextualizing the image. I find this is a good way for me to stay involved both in this project and also, maybe help some other people learn a bit about the war and just, find a way to start discussions about all sorts of things that other people's relatives or ancestors, went through. Okay, so basically I'm going to be doing weekly drops for all the scanned images that I have. The images span anywhere from 1943 to 1945. And basically stops once the war ends. But there's a lot of really interesting, beats, if you will, along the way that haven't made in the current cut of the movie that I still want to share, because obviously I think it totally deserves being remembered, every inch of that. So I'm going to be doing these image library drops each week with a description contextualizing each image. So I'm going to be doing that too in this video. That's the whole reason I'm posting it, the combat footage. Let's see here. So a tracer post, that's a work in progress title. I don't know if I'm going to keep it at that. But basically, this is for any other user who wants to use this subreddit as a way to learn about your own family history. I'm assuming that the subreddit is going to attract, other historians, if you will, or amateur historians like myself. Who might be able to lend a hand in helping you figure things out. And the reason I'm kind of doing the two-pronged approach for the subreddit is because if I'm only posting once a week here, I still kind of want an active community, helping each other out and kind of, building that part of the community up. Because I think that, that to me is almost more important than the whole project. Because if we find ways to keep remembering everyone's relative story, I think that's almost more important than my own. So that's the point of the tracer flare. And then general inquiry, I'm going to leave that open to any questions about the film. I'm going to be a complete open book about it because, this is certainly no Hollywood production. It honestly is almost a disadvantage not to be an open book about it. And, ideas I have for it. Obviously, I'm not going to spoil, like, big beats in the film. I want the film to still be entertaining when you guys eventually watch it. But I'll do my best to answer questions about it as I'm going through. So I'll wrap that up right now. We'll go right into the first image library. This will be a post on combat footage to start, and then r/LeosStory. So let's start doing that. So these next couple images, I'm starting off with a bang here. These are some of my favorite pictures that came out of the war that he took. We're going to start with this one because I'm assuming a ton of people are going to see this. So this picture is so interesting to me because I am tempted to think this is George Patton. It's just like the facial profile of this guy kind of fits Patton. He's got a pipe. I think Patton was a smoker, so I don't know. I can't find anything. I haven't delved too deep into this one about the spade on the bumper. I'm sure that's some sort of insignia or something that marks who this is, or at least who they belong to. I kind of like how this photograph has that like sneaked. It feels like it was sneaked and it was done literally like behind the person's back, but and these look like they're like the aide de camp or something to a general. All these images, by the way, I'm going to put in an Imager gallery too, so it's not going to be just my screen recording. This is just me narrating over it. So if you don't care about what I'm saying about it, just go click the link, and you'll get it there. What's next? I'm jumping around here a bit. This photo is pretty cool. I like it because it's actually kind of a hard picture to get. This is in Miami Beach in 1943. A couple of P-40 Warhawks did a super low flyover of the beach and obviously got everybody's attention here. I think this is just a really nice snapshot of what Miami Beach was like during 1943. I mean, life obviously was going on, kept going on here, but you know, they were there to do a job, and that was trained for the upcoming war. Next up, going back to the LSTs. This is on the ride over to Europe. I love this image for so many reasons. The dog. But it's like everyone's just chilling. They're like, life's going on. This guy's reading. Obviously, there's just, you can almost kind of sense, that they all understand they're going towards something huge. And they can't really escape it. They're just along for the ride. This guy's strumming his guitar. I mean, this is just like a very good image as to what life was like on those ships heading over to Europe before the Jack Lieb film. So that's really interesting. I love that picture. This image is really cool because it doesn't look all that special right off the bat, but what's written on the back of it is pretty cool. So this is the back. It says left to right, Shepherd, Detroit. I'm assuming that's the guy's name, where he's from. This guy Cook, who was a pro ball player for the Detroit Tigers. And this guy Pop Dione from East Boston. He appears in a lot of the images. Oh God, Corona. This guy Dione appears in a lot of the images in the archive that I have here. And then there's that other guy. So I'm assuming this is the guy who used to play for the Tigers sometime in the 40s. So if anyone knows anything about him, let me know. That's pretty cool. A huge fan of baseball. So this picture, there's actually two here. This is obviously a knocked out Sherman tank. That's been, if you look here, it's been stripped for parts already. There's no 30 cal in the hull. And obviously, I mean, it looks like the turret got completely blown off here. A shell hole through this tower. I'm trying to, like, when I look at a photo like this, I'm trying to think when, because the back of this photo has no date and no description. But there's a lot of things about this image that are kind of confusing. It's like, why is the tank positioned between two trees? That doesn't really make sense to me. It almost looks like it got pushed off the road from where it got knocked out, but there's no like accumulated dirt or anything if it got dozed off. The picture after it, I think, is the other side of the road. No, wait, look at this. Look at this berm. I don't think there's snow. I think these are two different times. This other Sherman got completely blown up. Looks like the turret popped off and then came back down. The hull, the turret ring's completely bent. There's even some warping going on here in the hull. You see it's kind of bulged up and forward a bit. 30 cals. I don't think that's the default position of the 30 cal, so maybe that got damaged. There's some buckling going on down here. A ton of pressure happened inside that. I don't think anybody lived through that. This is interesting. Maybe we could figure this out. The 707 with a delta at the end, or triangle. I don't know. B15 or 16? 15? Probably tells us a bit about the unit. But again, life's going on in the background. There's people just going on with their lives. I'm assuming because of where he was in the war, where he was stationed, I have a feeling this was near the Battle of the Bulge, like in that general sector, because what happened was, not to give too much away, my grandpa's unit was stationed to the south of where the Bulge ended up being, and he got swept up in the relief force in Patton's Third Army that struck north to defuse that situation. So even though he wasn't a frontline troop, he ended up, in this large echelon of people, really a whole army, moving north to try and mitigate that situation. So I think that might be from that experience. This picture I think I had up yesterday. This is obviously an FW190. I don't see, other than maybe this line, something here. This looks like almost an 11. Maybe that will tell us a little bit about this plane. The back of this image does have text. Oh, wrong way. Bonus picture. Actually, that one was from the other day. So this is at the Frankfurt airstrip. It's labeled wrong, as are a lot of these images. So the thing is, it's like at that time, it's like you hear about it in Normandy. A lot of Allied tankers are saying they were fighting Tiger tanks, but within the first 2 weeks of them being in Normandy, there wasn't a single Tiger tank on record as being there. So what was the most common German airplane in the war? Me-109. So my grandpa sees a fighter, and he assumes it's an Me-109. But I mean, you have to think they didn't have the internet. They couldn't just look up Me-109 and get an image. The story behind that is just the pilot, I guess, landed the aircraft and gave himself up at Frankfurt airstrip. So who knows if that story's out there. I don't think it is. I haven't heard anything about it. But just some interesting. I mean, like, there was some fighting going on here. You look at this building; it's completely peppered with shrapnel and debris. This looks like a. That doesn't. I don't think that's exhaust. That looks like a. Man, that went right for the pilot. If that's a cannon shot or MG, there's some other engineers or people over here. But this totally makes sense, though, that he would be at an airfield because of the nature of his job. He would go and repair shot down aircraft, and what that meant was a lot of the time he was stationed at airfields, and they would go out, scrap some of the planes, bring them back, and fix up some of the aircraft that were still back at Allied airfields. One more iconic image. I mean, look at this guy in the middle. Obviously, they're holding up newspapers that Hitler's dead. So this obviously has to be early May, because I think he killed himself like one of the last days of April, but they didn't know until a few days later. So, guy's got a wine bottle, a carton of something. Yeah, so obviously, I mean, look at this. These guys have seen enough of war. All right, so once again, thank you so much for all the support that you guys have given. I mean, the video is at almost 10,000 views in 24 hours, so that's a win in my book. As I said earlier, definitely stop by r/LeosStory to both keep up with my film and ask any questions that you might have about, your relatives or ancestors. And hopefully what we can create is a community of people who can try and help fill in the backstory that you may or may not know about the people in your family who fought in the war. I intend for it to work that way. I don't know if it's going to end up working that way, but I'm sure we'll find out pretty soon whether or not it'll work or not. Yeah, thanks for stopping by.